Hi, Shweta. It's great to see you and welcome everybody who's joining us today. It's lovely to have you with us as well.
Hi everyone, great to see you and lovely to see you too, Sarah. I'm so excited for today's video because what we are going to talk about today is going even deeper than we were last week. So just as a review, in the last video that we did, we were talking about attention, really how we can direct and create very specific attention for what we want to remember. And then the way we do that is by decluttering. So we were talking about decluttering our workspace, decluttering the room that we are in, our house, but also decluttering our mind, decluttering our emotions by reducing the amount of scrolling we do or the amount of messages we constantly reading on social media and things. And so we had a takeaway, didn't we, last time, which was all about try it at home and see what happens. I did, and it was amazing. And I know that, Sarah, you tried this experiment as well about decluttering your emotions and mind. And share with us, how was it? What did you find?
It was great. In fact, I did both. We had set two challenges and I went down and I decluttered my desk and that felt great. But I also did the challenge to see if I could reduce reliance on technology. And I wasn't able to do what you did and really boil it down to a minimum. And if anybody hasn't seen Shweta talking about this, please do watch our previous session because it is very interesting. But what I did find I could do was be more purposeful in my use of technology. So I stopped reaching for my phone or just looking to see if an email has come in without actually needing or wanting to do that. And so I was time blocking, I suppose, and it cleared up an amazing amount of time in my day. And it gave me the opportunity to sit down and drink coffee and just watch the garden. And it was lovely because that does clear space in your head. I felt much more connected to my environment. I felt more connected to my day and I got a lot done. In fact, my husband also had a go at it and he also reported that it's a really positive thing to do. So great challenge. And I would highly recommend that people try it out if they haven't yet.
Yes, it sounds like you have decluttered a lot actually and made space for those memories to actually set in, which is fantastic. And today's video is very much linked to that, but we're sort of going deeper, like I said. So last time was all about attention, and today's video is all about intention. So we need to have very specific and clear intention that we are giving our mind for creating lasting memories. And one of the techniques here is through association.
Yeah, association is really powerful, and we can use it with this sort of purposeful intention to remember something by deliberately making an association to help that happen. One of the ones that I know that you use, Shweta, a lot is location. I think you used that when you were studying and you still do use it, don't you?
I do. I love that. It's one of my favorite techniques for remembering information. So when I was at school for my GCSEs and A-level exams, I used to write bits of information that I knew I would forget on little post-it notes. So things like names and dates and specific case studies and things. And I would have different rooms in my house that represented different subjects. So in my bedroom, for example, it would be psychology. And I would write little case study names and little bits of information onto post-it notes and put them all around my bedroom, for study purposes. But then I remembered that when I would be sitting in the exam, all I had to do was to visualize walking into my bedroom and looking at the post-it notes. So there was one where I knew I would forget the name of this psychologist, which I always forgot, was Underwood et al. And it was a case study about something or the other, which I'm not going to go into now. But I remember putting it on a post-it note under my bed to remind me of Underwood. And so all I did was, in my mind, I would just sort of squat down, look under my bed, and I'd see that post-it note. And I remembered everything, and I wrote it down into my study. And it was just the way I did it was throughout all of my exams. And I know I would never have passed had I not had this technique of remembering information.
But it's sort of interesting that the one that you were mentioning as well was how to remember somebody's name, and you had Underwood there under the bed. And I find my problem isn't just not remembering people's names, but actually even remembering if I've even met them before, because I don't have a very good memory for faces. But what I do have is a good memory for sound and voices. So I've learned personally that when I meet somebody new, I never say, how lovely to meet you, until they've spoken first. And then I can actually work out if I have already met them and that I should be sort of opening my conversation a different way. So the senses are really important and really useful for us to use to develop memory. Smell is one of the most powerful ways that we can build memories, but it's a difficult one to use. We can use it perhaps at home. It's quite hard to use in the workplace or at school, and unless you're using perfumed pens to write your notes or something, which might help. I think perhaps, would you agree, Shweta, that smell is more an emotion, more a way that we can set the scene to help us with memory?
I think so. I think it's very hard to use smells for very specific bits of information to recall very specific things. But I do think that smells are incredibly powerful. I know it is one of the most powerful memory techniques out there. And I think what it does is it puts us into a better state of emotion, in a better frame of energy. So I know that, for example, I have this very specific memory of being in a yoga studio and really relaxing in that space. And they use sort of lavenders and mint, peppermint and patchouli within that space a lot. So whenever I feel myself getting anxious or stressed, which remember is not very good for memory or creating memory or even recalling things you already know, I put on certain essential oil scents, whether through a candle or through the essential oil burners. And those scents allows me to relax, get into that space again where I'm able to then recall information. So I think smell can be very, very powerful. We remember, for example, what it feels like to be in your granny's home and to be in that warmth and protected, safe environment. So it's all about just recreating the smell that will ease us into that space.
Yeah. And of course, another one, which is really powerful as well as smell, is visualization. That's one I think, we're going to come and talk a lot about visualization in this series. And one of the things that we could do now maybe is a practical way of using visualization to remember your shopping lists, because I seem to remember, Shweta, that you said last week that was something that you had sometimes difficulty with.
Yeah. All the time. So I'm really looking forward to this, actually.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to, first of all, build a system that we can very easily recall, and we base it on numbers. And you could build this up to 10, but we're just going to go to 5. So you start with knowing that you know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you think of an object which rhymes with that number. So 1, for example, could be a bun. We're going to try and think of objects which are very concrete rather than abstract concepts, because later I'm going to ask you to visualize them. So 2, what rhymes with 2? That would be an object you could easily link to it.
A shoe.
Okay. And 3?
A tree.
Okay. 4?
A shore, like the shore of seaside.
Yeah. And 5?
A hive, like a beehive.
Great. Okay. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each of those has an object which rhymes with that number, so it's quite easy to remember what that object is. Okay. Now I'm going to give you a shopping list, and each time I give you an item, I want you to link it to the object that you've already visualized. So for example, if the first item was a tomato, that you would then remember the tomato in 1, the bun. But make it quirky. Don't just make it like a sort of tomato sandwich. Make it in some way a little bit odd, because those memories are ones that we remember better. Okay?
Okay, got it.
Right. And anybody who's watching, please try this as well. So I'm going to give you 5 items, and then you link it to the base object. And the first item is milk.
Okay.
And item number 2, radishes.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the third one is ice cream. Always have to have ice cream on a shopping list.
Okay, I've got a really good one for that.
4, cheese.
Okay.
And number 5 is a newspaper.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
So although this seems a little bit slow and laborious to be doing it, all of these things just need practice. But once you have got your base 5 objects, it's very easy to link other things to them, recall them. So if anybody's trying this at home, grab a pen and just see if you can write down those 5 items from the shopping list. And then Shweta will see if she can recall them and see how you get on. So Shweta, what do you think the first object was?
Okay, so I have like a gallon of milk being poured into this bun endlessly. So it was milk.
Great. Okay. And what came next?
So 2 was shoe, and I had shoes made out of radishes. So radish.
Weird. And then, yeah.
Okay, so 3 was tree, and I had trees growing ice cream. So it was ice cream.
Lovely. Yeah. And what came after that?
4 was a shore, and I remember having the shore was sort of spitting out cheese cubes. So it was cheese.
And the last one?
So 5 was a beehive, and I had someone swatting the beehive with a newspaper. So it was newspaper.
Yeah, great. And the wonderful thing about this technique is that you don't just end up remembering the things you need to remember, but you also have them in the correct order, if that is important. And you can use it in all sorts of ways. I mean, you can use it for your shopping, but you could use it if you're in a meeting and somebody's giving you some action lists. You know, combine all these things together. You're in a particular location, remember that meeting room, make a visual picture of who it is who is giving you those actions, and then link them to your bun, your shoe, and the tree as it is that what it is they're asking you to do. And you'll find that all these things sort of can be combined together to make a really powerful way of enhancing your memory.
Yes, absolutely. And I think I do want to reiterate, Sarah, what you said, which is really important, that the emotion that we have when we set very clear intentions for our memory, a very powerful tool to use for yourself. So I know I need to remember this, and I'm not relying on my phone or a piece of paper. I have an intention to remember these, and I'm therefore using my visualization techniques to remember this information. It is very, very powerful. It might feel like this is something you do for primary school children, and then actually as an adult, God, this is too long and it takes too much time and effort to do something like this. The reality is it might feel like that in the first couple of instances you do it, but remember, everything is helping. Memory is always being supported by everything you do for it, whether that's using your emotions, whether that's using visualization, whether that's using smells. So everything you are doing is going to help it, and it's going to get faster and easier, even if the first couple of times are slower and more laborious. Just sticking with it, trying it out is really, really important. So I do urge everyone who is viewing this with us to try this, to just think of a number of things that you have to do throughout your entire day that normally you might get wrong, or you might miss out a couple of things on that list. Use this technique early in the morning when you're sitting there. Create a real intention to create this as a lasting memory. Use your skill, if it's visualization, whether it's using location or sounds, and try it out. What you'll see is that you'll be quite surprised at what you find by the end of the day.
Yeah, and everybody's different. So nobody's going to have the same experience as somebody else. And that's why it's so important that you do try out these things and start to work out for yourself where your strengths are and which bits of your memory you can enhance with ease. So thank you very much for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Great. Thank you, and see you soon. Bye.